The 2014 decision was a victory for religious conservatives, as it exempted family-owned businesses that objected on religious grounds from a federal requirement that any health insurance they provide to employees must cover birth control for women. Schenck said he learned about the ruling ahead of time after launching an influence campaign dubbed Operation Higher Court, in which he recruited wealthy couples to serve as stealth missionaries to get close to the court's conservative justices. Our overarching goals were to gain insights into the conservative justices' thinking and to shore up their resolve to render solid, unapologetic opinions, particularly against abortion, he testified under subpoena. Schenck, who has since disavowed many of his anti-abortion and socially conservative stances, said he learned about the Hobby Lobby ruling after one of those stealth missionaries dined with Alito. The justice has denied leaking the decision. Schenck said he only decided to speak to the media about the 2014 incident after a draft copy of the eventual ruling in June overturning the landmark 1973 Roe v. Wade decision that had legalized abortion nationwide was leaked to Politico. Alito authored that decision, called Dobbs v. Jackson Women's Health Organization, and the Hobby Lobby won. Schenck said he was motivated to come forward out of fear Supreme Court staff could unfairly take the blame for this year's leak. Chief Justice John Roberts directed the Supreme Court's marshal to investigate the leak in the Dobbs case, calling it a betrayal. Alito recently said the leak this year put him and his colleagues at risk of assassination. Democratic lawmakers said Schenck's account underscored the need for legislation requiring the U.S. Supreme Court, which now has a 6-3 conservative majority, to adopt a code of ethics, which unlike lower-level federal courts the High Court lacks. I believe we pushed the boundaries of Christian ethics and compromised the High Court's promise to administer equal justice, Schenck said. But I'm also conscious we were never admonished for the type of work our missionaries did. Republicans at the hearing called into question Schenck's account, dismissing it as unfounded hearsay and an attempt by Democrats to smear Alito because they disliked his rulings. Representative Darrell Issa of California said the minister's story was completely unsupported and uncorroborated and in doubt.
Bankruptcy worries swirl around used car retailer Carvana. Used car retailer Carvana, facing a cash crunch, could be headed towards bankruptcy, according to both published reports and a bearish analyst's call that slashes its share price target to $1. In mid-afternoon trading, Carvana, best known for its auto vending machine concept, stands at about $4.60 a share, up on the day but down more than 40% from a week ago. Used car prices have been falling from record highs in recent months as higher interest rates have made used cars unaffordable for many potential buyers. Carvana, a relatively new player in the used car field, has lost money most quarters since it went public in 2017 as it aimed for sales growth rather than short-term profitability. But its losses have widened amid the recent downturn in the sector. It reported a net loss of $1.5 billion in the first 9 months of this year, up from a $105 million net loss in the same period of 2021. And its cash on hand was $316 million as of September 30th, down 22% from the start of the year, although its borrowing capacity has increased. It announced it was cutting 1,500 jobs last month on slower car sales. Bloomberg reported Tuesday that major holders of Carvana debt have entered into a cooperation agreement to work together and give them more leverage in any negotiations with the company. And it reported Wednesday the company is in talks with lawyers and investment bankers about options for managing its debt load amid concerns about its solvency. Seth Basham, an analyst with Wedbush Securities, slashed his price target on the stock to $1 from $9 in a note Wednesday, saying that the fact that its debt is trading at less than 50 cents on the dollar is a sign that there is a higher likelihood of debt restructuring that could leave the equity worthless in a bankruptcy scenario or highly diluted in a best case. Carvana launched 10 years ago with a plan to disrupt the used car market, offering both online car shopping and trade-ins as well as distinctive car vending machines. But Basham told CNN Carvana's problems are worse than other used car dealers because it expanded faster than its sales could support. They put the cart before the horse, he said. They built infrastructure for a lot more sales than they're currently doing. And that saddled them with a ton of excess capacity. The company did comment directly on the report about meetings with lawyer and bankers, only saying that it is not a party to the cooperation agreement among bondholders. Our message to our customers, shareholders, employees and other stakeholders remains clear. We are singularly focused on executing on the plan to profitability outlined in our third quarter shareholder letter, and we have substantial liquidity to get us there, said the company's statement. In no way do these reports change that strategy. But the reports only fed a sell-off in shares already underway. They plunged to an all-time low of $3.55 a share Wednesday, before closing at $3.83 a share, down 43% for the day. What is stiff person syndrome, the disorder impacting Celine Dion's ability to sing? Celine Dion revealed in an emotional and-in Thursday that she had to postpone her upcoming European tour after being diagnosed with a very rare neurological disorder. The debilitating illness has impacted her ability to sing and walk. According to the National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke, stiff person syndrome, otherwise known as Morse-Woltman syndrome, is a rare neurological disorder with features of an autoimmune disease. The illness causes the body to become rigid and more sensitive to noise, touch and emotional distress. That heightened sensitivity can cause muscle spasms, as well as hunched over and stiffened postures, according to the institute. The muscle spasms, which Dion said she has experienced, can be so violent they can dislocate joints and even break bones, according to the Stiff Person Syndrome Research Foundation. Dion said the spasms have affected every aspect of her daily life, from causing problems with her ability to walk to preventing her from using her vocal cords to sing the way she is used to. The disorder, which impacts twice as many women as men, according to the institute, causes many people to become too disabled to walk or move. Many people are afraid to leave the house, the institute adds, because street noises, such as the sound of a horn, can trigger spasms and falls, its researchers say. Fewer than 5,000 people in the U.S. are believed to have the disorder, according to the Genetic and Rare Diseases Information Center. However, little is known about it. It is often misdiagnosed as other autoimmune disorders, such as or a combination of. But researchers believe it could be caused instead by an awry bodily response in the brain and spinal cord. Treatment for the ailment typically includes high doses of diazepam, otherwise known as Valium, which is often used to help relieve anxiety and alcohol withdrawal, according to the Mayo Clinic. Those with stiff person syndrome also often take several anticonvulsants, including gabapentin and tiagabine, the institute said. While Dion has not revealed her specific treatment, she said she is working with a sports medicine therapist and a great team of doctors. Treatment can help improve the symptoms, but there is no cure for the disorder.
COP15 Diary. Delegates grapple with masks, snoods and meaningful action. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's pledge of $800 million over 7 years to support Indigenous-led conservation projects was preceded by a ceremony led by the First Nations elder, Kanizahan Kevin Deer. It made a change from the day before when Trudeau was interrupted by Indigenous protesters at the opening ceremony. The UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres spoke powerfully about the need to protect the rights of environment protesters, saying, "Human rights must be at the center of all environmental concerns and namely, the work of the CBD." A new draft text of the Global Biodiversity Framework is littered with more than 1,000 brackets, which will need dealing with over the next 2 weeks. The text has been described as a mess, with many concerned about the amount that still needs to be done. Despite more than 20 targets being negotiated, the 30 by 30 goal to protect 30% of land and oceans by 2030 is stealing the limelight. As delegates arrived at Montreal Airport, there was no escaping the slew of posters promoting the ambition. Masks are also back, and each day delegates are taking COVID tests in order to get into the conference center. The EU representative Ladislav Miko criticized Russia's invasion of Ukraine, saying it brings about long-term environmental degradation. Russian delegate Denis Rybrikov responded by saying the subject should be outside the scope of the Biodiversity Summit. It's hard to avoid the impression that these countries are deliberately trying to sabotage the adoption of a global framework, he said. It's currently 3°C in Montreal and some delegates are struggling with the cold. One was seen wearing a thick coat and woolly hat with headphones over the top in the main plenary hall. The opening ceremony of COP15 negotiations finally took place after more than 2 years of delays due to the pandemic. Trudeau, Guterres, and the Chinese Environment Minister and COP15 President Huang Runchu spoke at the event. Guterres said humanity has become a weapon of mass extinction, and governments must end the orgy of destruction at COP15. There was good news elsewhere, with the EU announcing a ban on all products judged to have contributed to deforestation. The world's second-largest importer of agricultural product has agreed a law to prevent companies from selling to the EU soy, beef, coffee and other commodities linked to the loss of tropical forests around the world.